What is good, everybody? It's your boy Anthony alongside the best Big 3 account in the universe, Big 3 News, back with another edition of the Fourth Man. That felt weird rolling off the tongue a little bit. I feel like it's been a while. We've been in the stream game a little bit, but we're back with another episode to recap everything and give and break down our preseason power rankings, which is something that's pretty exciting to do for us. We've done it, I guess this is going to be our second one because we took off last year, but got a great episode coming up for you, kind of break down the draft in the midst of all of it. Will, my guy, how's everything going? I feel like we haven't done this in a while.
It has been a while, and I feel like we've really been we did the stream, and the stream was a lot. Like that was probably the most involved, most planned thing that we've ever done. And it went so well, and I'm so happy for all the amount of people who were able to join us. Shout out you guys. That was just such a cool, fun thing that we did, and we're definitely going to be doing more stuff like that in the future. But I feel like you and I definitely, after that stream, we were like, all right, we need a break.
Yeah.
We were like, the Nets were in round 2, so we were really, I don't think you and I really talked Big 3 for a solid 5 days after that, because we were just we need to breathe. But we're back, and really it's all about prepping for the start of the season, July 10th. And I'm just so happy that we're here. You think of all those episodes that we did when we were we started out, be like, well, not too much to talk about this episode. Those days are long gone. Yeah. I'm so excited. We're finally back, man. And it's going to be great.
Do you feel like a young artist that's trying to get his name out? We've been doing promotions almost. We've been doing the promotion posts.
Yeah. SoundCloud, yo, check out our SoundCloud. Yeah.
That's how I was kind of feeling. Almost if it was I don't know if it's pre-COVID days or maybe pre-internet days even, but I almost felt like I should have been passing out flyers to people, show up to the stream and everything. But no, I'm super happy as well that it turned out well. Couldn't have done it without everybody who was listening and tuned in. And like you said, we've been very focused on the Nets, and unfortunate on our end. I'm sure everybody else in the world is happy about that. But in a way, it's kind of good because we can focus all of our attention back onto the Big 3. And not so much on the championship run. I mean, there's the pros and cons to everything, but
especially with that, in a way, obviously, I was so upset to see them lose, and I processed it better than I thought. But I think one of the things that really helped me get through, where I was I finally have some time to focus on the Big 3.
Right, because you've been juggling Nets depicted.
I've been
news.
I've really, and to be honest with you, besides the draft, I've really just been all right, all in on the net stuff. But now, I feel like a weight was lifted over my shoulders a little bit. I was kind of now I have time. I don't have to plan my schedule. I can come home from work, because really I was coming home from work. I had an hour to eat, and then the Nets were on. Man. So there's a solid 2 weeks where I was I feel like I don't do anything. But now my schedule cleared up. So listen, I tweeted before, but I'm liking Cancun. It's really nice.
I'm feeling it. It feels pretty good. And not to mention too, this is going to be such a great summer because we've been waiting on this for so long, and I feel like that's where almost the excitement is gearing up towards. It's almost I don't want to say we lost any kind of excitement, but it's been so long since we've seen the league, and now we have teams ready. And we've had the draft over with, and we're actually prepping for a season, which is so exciting. Let's kind of, recap the draft and go through our power rankings. But before we do all that, if you want to follow the show or find our socials at Fourth Man Pod, at Big3 News. If you want to watch the show rather than listen to the show, youtube.com/Fourth Man Pod. You can recap the stream on there. We also did our Big 3 mock draft, so you can see how inaccurate it was. We did okay. I'll say, I think we got about 10 or so guys, not right accurately, but in general that were drafted. Because that's pretty hard. It's not like any other mock draft.
Well, so I think each of us both got about 2 picks correct. Mm-hmm. And by picks, I mean player team.
Yeah.
I got Pargo and Mamadou correct. You got Meta World Peace and I believe and Roten correct. Mm-hmm. So
and then we both got. I got Will McDonald,
and we both got Craig. You got Will McDonald, and we both got Craig. So that's how many people? You just named 6 people?
That's about 6 or 7. And then not to mention, we got Jordan Hill on the right team.
And we got Jordan Hill on the right team, just wrong selection. So I don't know. I feel like 6 out of 20, that's got to be what? A little bit, almost a fifth of the draft, over a quarter of the draft, correct? That's
I feel
gotta be
pretty good
something. I
about
mean,
it.
if Mel Kiper got 25% of the draft correct, you know what I mean? I feel like, he'd be getting paid, $1 billion. So I feel like
Yeah.
this gotta mean something.
Yeah, exactly. Comparing us to the greats. If you look at it that way, we're one of the greats.
We are one of the greats. Oh, absolutely.
And speaking of greats, we appreciate Dash Radio and the Nothing But Net channel for giving us a platform to put our show on. We appreciate you guys tuning in every Saturday, whether you're a first time listener or you're just getting into the Big Three and you're excited for season 4 like we are. And let's kind of go into it. So really the way we're going to break down the draft, if you recap the live stream, you know what happened. But for some of you guys tuned in who didn't get a chance to go recap it or even watch the draft live, essentially we'll kind of just talk about the draft generally. And then as we're going through our power rankings, we'll kind of update you on who's on each team. You guys pretty much know the captains. We've updated it up to this point, but it's a matter of getting those last two guys. So really, I mean, let's start here. Overall thoughts of the draft. Were you shocked, surprised? Did you really like it on the Triller platform? I mean, let me give a little bit of the spotlight to you and just get a better understanding of how you felt about the draft.
I mean, I feel like that was kind of like, I feel like it was kind of a hard thing to, it's a hard question to answer because like I really didn't get the chance to watch the draft.
Well,
you know
that's
what I
true.
mean? Like,
yeah.
like I had it on mute the entire time, so I really can't really speak for the production quality or anything, because we were live reacting to it and we were giving our own commentary. So I really haven't really gotten the chance to sit down and rewatch the draft. But as far as how the actual draft went, I was very surprised. I mean, you could just tell by our mock draft.
Yeah.
There were a ton of guys that I thought should have gotten picked, and I was expecting to get picked. I mean, I had David Hawkins at number 2. He didn't go. I had Isaiah Austin, I believe, number 10. He went number 1. I had Jordan Hill at number 1. He went in the second round. I had Justin Dentman and New Williams up there, and they weren't selected at all. So, I think it just goes to show you, I mean, what was the statistic that all the guys were saying? Out of, 20 picks, maybe like 4 guys were at the combine.
I think 6. So
6
6
guys were at
20,
the combine.
Just about.
So, that just shows you the mentality of the league right now. And it's very, very, relationship oriented.
Yeah.
And I will say credit to you, Anthony. When we did our mock drafts and you were like Meta World Peace, we talked after the show and you were like, I'm surprised you didn't get Meta World Peace in there. And I was like, I gotta be honest with you, I don't think Meta World Peace is being drafted. And you were like, well, I think Stack's gonna bring him in. And I was like, I don't know. I just think they're going to, go young talent, whatever, try to build the best team. But, we are still seeing that it's sort of that Big 3 mentality, even from season 1, that, guys are going to bring in guys definitely in this draft, maybe more apparent than ever before, preference people they knew than best available talent.
Well, and yes, and I think out of sight, out of mind is not as real as we thought it was in the Big 3 draft and combine process, But I think at the same time, too, we look at some of the guys that were drafted: Will McDonald, Craig Smith, Julian Wright. Those are 3 guys that have been through the combine process already. So, a lot of guys were like, oh, the combine doesn't matter. You got 6 out of 20 people that were drafted. Well, there's guys that have been through the process already.
Right.
And if you look at it in this aspect, too, the number 1 pick was at the combine. I believe Earl Clark was at the combine, but I could be wrong about that.
I think Earl Clark was at the combine.
So there were a lot of guys who did make, a good, I guess, introduction to themselves, to the captains and the coaches that were there. I don't think it's a total failure, but at the same time, there's a lot of guys that weren't at the combine, and I don't think it's always just because I don't feel like going. We heard from multiple guys that they couldn't make it work because of personal reasons.
Right.
And I don't think
they couldn't make it work. You couldn't make it work.
Right. And I don't think captains necessarily want to exclude people just because they weren't at the combine, especially when they know their game. I mean, this is chemistry matters. That's something that you were so high on when it came to enemies last year. You're like, I just don't know about enemies. The chemistry seems a little off. I'm not sure how they're going to come in and be prepared. And you were dead on. I mean, they were second to last in the league last year. And I think a lot of that had to do with the offsetting chemistry that they had all year. the only team that I felt like could make it work was Power, and I have the only reason I think they can do that is because they had Nancy Lieberman. They had 10 players on their team. It seemed like at one point. So
Yeah.
I think that we're kind of overreacting a little bit to the fact that 6 out of 20 people were at the combine. That's just my opinion. But at the same time, too, I think like if you look at the guys who were already on teams before and at the combine, I think it's a good offsetting balance and a good mixture of new faces and old faces as well. That's just the way I look at it. But I do, you explained a little bit about some of the surprises you said. I want to start here. Who won the draft to you and who lost? It could be a team or it could be a player.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I think a lot of my frustration really is just boiling from the fact that David Hawkins wasn't drafted. And that to me was just so glaring that I was kind of like, like, what are we doing? Like really, like I kind of was like, what are we doing? In like a sense. But you're right. But you're also correct in a lot of the things that you said. And you're right. It is, a lot of it is just because somebody that I wanted to get picked didn't get picked. That doesn't delegitimize everybody else who was picked. So you're right in that sense. Winners and losers. Winners, I think, definitely was Bivouac. I think, we've been talking, don't sleep on Bivouac. But now, like, I don't even think you can call them a sleeper team anymore.
No.
I mean, this is a team that went out there and I said, I was like, listen, I think what Bivouac has to do is you have to get proven Big 3 talent. And you pick up a guy like Julian Wright, who we absolutely love on this podcast, and who played tremendously for Power. So if it's someone who you want to come in and is going to absolutely just, bring in that Big 3 legitimacy now with a year with Will Bonham and Josh Smith, a year on the Big 3 under their belt, as well as Reggie Theus, I might have to pick a new sleeper team because Bivouac is looking legitimate. And, in a way they sort of feel like, before last year's NFL, when everyone was like, oh, I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to be really good. Like, it was just kind of like something that everyone realized.
Or this year's Tennessee Titans or something.
Right. Yeah, exactly. This year's Tennessee Titans, where everyone's like, I don't know. Is everyone looking at Tennessee? Like, yeah, they just got Julio Jones. Everyone is looking at Tennessee. Like, you're not out of like, calm down, Schefter, But I think, I think Bivouac definitely won this draft.
Okay. I like
loser in the draft. I would say loser probably not a team, not a person, but the Big 3 tryouts. There was a lot of smoke.
I don't like it, but
there was a lot of I don't want to say smoke and mirrors, but there was definitely a lot of pomp and circumstance around the tryouts. And, a lot of people who felt they should have been there or, felt they should have been picked or, what have you. And it just didn't really seem like there were a lot of guys who were picked, that you said probably could have qualified for the tryouts, but weren't at the tryouts themselves. So that to me was probably the biggest loser in all this was the tryouts. So it'll be interesting to see, if the Big 3 expands, if there's new captains that come in, if the tryouts get prioritized in future drafts. But it just seemed apparent to me, Anthony, that they were not prioritized in this draft.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We both thought that Corey Jefferson would be the one guy that would go, and unfortunately he didn't. But yeah, you're right. They made a big deal out of it. They made clips for each guy, and they were talking about the tryout so much and how they wanted to have homegrown talent and potentially change someone's life, and that just didn't happen. And that's not in the Big 3's control necessarily when it comes to the league as a whole. But it is unfortunate that none of those guys are going to get that opportunity.
If there is a positive too, sorry, not to interrupt you, but if there is a positive that you are looking at this, it's that this just basically proves to you that the Big 3 lets the teams draft.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that there is no outside influence. Like, oh, do me a favor, take this guy. Because there were guys who were chosen that like who was the last pick with Ghost Bowlers?
Cheyenne Gadsden.
Gadsden. Like that is somebody who I don't like, on the same level of like a Corey Jefferson, someone who could have very well have been at the tryouts, but he wasn't, and he was still selected. So if the Big 3 wanted someone from the tryouts, I feel like they could have very easily have shoehorned themselves in, but they didn't. So credit to them in that way.
Yeah, no doubt. I couldn't agree more. It'll be interesting to see how they move forward with that, though. I think that's going to be something to kind of look out for in later years if they'll add they'll give more people opportunities, and especially if an expansion or the sixth man comes back at some point, that'll be really interesting to kind of just check into. For me, when it comes to winners, I gotta say it's our guy Dusan Baloo. I mean, I for us, we thought he would be taken at the end of the draft. We know that there was a lot of risk with him coming in. We know where he fell back in 2019 because there was a lot of uncertainty. And I got to be honest, I was a little surprised that he went. I mean, I was very surprised that he went at 3, but I'm super excited for him. But I just don't, I don't know what changed really. I know that obviously he's the greatest 3-on-3 player as of right now, number 1 player in the world. But it just seems like a lot of people were like, well, we don't know how it's going to translate to this league. And he's been playing overseas. He's got a lot of 3-on-3 experience. Not to mention there's the risk factor of will he be at the Olympics? Is FIBA going to come in and say, no, you can't play in this if you want to play in the Olympics? And all that circulating around him, Nancy Lieberman's like, I'm going to go get my guy anyways at number 3. And sure enough, she did. And I just think that's a big win for Dusan because, there you could ask a lot of questions. And that's what we thought that was going to make a huge impact on where he was drafted. And it didn't. It shows that they really coveted a guy who's been playing 3-on-3 not only probably his entire life, but he's the number 1 player. But really throughout this pandemic, he's probably one of the few guys throughout this whole draft process that's continuously been playing and can understand different angles and understand different sets throughout the game. So Dusan, and not to mention he landed on a championship caliber team, or at least with a championship caliber coach. So I think it's a big win for Dusan to go at 3 and go to power. I mean, he was going to be at Ball Hawks last year, a team that came in last place, and now he's got a chance to potentially contend for a playoff spot and go to the Bahamas. A losing standpoint, it's kind of I don't know whether to go with a team or a player because I feel like there's a couple of losers here, honestly. But I think the biggest loser's got to be David Hawkins, just because he should have been drafted. He really should have been. And we had him as high as 2. He's been an MVP candidate. He was going to be a co-captain for Trilogy, or he was a co-captain for Trilogy last year. He loses his spot. He takes it in stride. And he's like, okay, I'm going to show out at the draft. People know what I can do in this league. We're hyping him up like crazy, and he still doesn't get drafted. I mean, that is absurd. I mean, you mentioned it. It's something that we were kind of upset with during the draft, that we understand the business and the nature of how things go. It's just, we talk about homegrown guys. That's probably one of the main guys who's made a name for himself in this league and proven that he can compete with everybody. And now he's not going to get that chance, especially after getting his co-captain spot revoked. I don't know. Didn't sit well with me. I'm not saying David Hawkins is a loser, like as a person, obviously.
I say we're all losers for not having David Hawkins.
That's even a better way to put it. We all lost because we don't get to see David Hawkins play this summer, at least not from the very beginning, as what we know right this instant. So
I think, we know injuries are going to happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, just the nature of the game. I think, first injury, David Hawkins got to be the first guy that you call.
That's what I'm thinking as well. I'm thinking as well. And I'll actually touch on that a little bit in our power rankings, where I think that, his first chance could come. But just a thought here. And you might have that similar thought as well. Before we move to the power rankings, biggest steal of the draft, in your opinion, just off rip.
It's so funny. You talk about steals of the draft. So think of it like this. The player who Nancy Lieberman evaluated as the 3rd best player in the deepest draft pool in Big 3 history was taken in the 3rd round by Ball Hogs last year. Could you imagine? And nothing changed.
Yeah.
So could you imagine if he did play?
Oh my gosh.
Either Nancy Lieberman, this is going to end up being one of the worst picks in Big 3 history, which I'm confident it's not. Or Ball Hogs was literally going to get probably one of the biggest steals in sports draft history.
Yeah. Oh my God. I even put that together. That is.
You know what I mean? That's the most Ball Hogs thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that is. For Ball Hog, man, it just keeps when it rains, it pours.
Because think of it, Power didn't have any picks that draft.
Oh my God.
So Nancy was probably sitting there this guy isn't getting picked. It's what? And then. So
please don't let him get drafted. Please don't let him get drafted. She probably was thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna scoop him up if we haven't seen it." Wow.
All right, let's see. Biggest steal of the draft. That's a good one. I think it's probably got to be our guy Tony Roten at 12 for Tri-State.
Yeah.
I think he was absolutely electric in the NBA. I think he's a great scorer, and we've seen how scorers of his caliber do in the Big Three. Guys like Pargo and Emmett and Maggette come to mind. Just guys who can just take it to the basket and also have that outside shot and can facilitate it a little bit. So, I think Tony Roten at 12 was probably my biggest steal.
I like it. I'm going to go with the guy who went at 19 to Ball Hogs. Again, the second to last pick. And I'm going to go with Jody Meeks. I was pretty shocked that a guy who's coming off an NBA championship 2 years ago, still 33 years old, great shooter in this league, had a lot of success in the NBA, not in this league, but in the NBA, went all the way at 19. I mean, he got passed up a ton of times. And, I had heard something where Ice Cube actually asked him to sit down at the combine because he was doing so well. And to think man, did Ice Cube almost crush his chances of playing in the Big 3 because he sat him down too quick? Or did he want them to go to Ball Hawks and it's like, hey, I need to sit Jody down because I know they want him. Yeah, I need Ball Hawks to step it up this year. They can't be at the bottom of the barrel again. Jody, they want you. Sit down.
I wonder if, I feel like, oh man, I think somebody told me that Scal had his 2 picks by the time they left the draft.
The combine,
I'm sorry. Right, everybody had their 2 picks by the time they left the draft. But I heard that Scal had his 2 picks by the time he left the draft. So I wonder if you're So I wonder if you're not too far off the trail. I wonder if Scal was like, I'm getting Jody Meeks. Do me a favor, go tell him to sit down. I don't want him to hurt himself or whatever. I've seen enough. I'm picking him. And then Cube goes over as like a neutral party and was like, I just, you might want, you're good. Trust me, wink, wink, you're good. And then, in whatever reason, maybe everyone knew Meeks was getting Ball Hog. I don't know. From talking to people I think really most of it, you talk about what's the strategy here. Guys really took it like a fantasy football draft. Being in the way, like, for instance, right? Like, you're playing fantasy football. How many times is the guy that you want to be picked so many picks ahead of you? Not really that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, you might have the guy that you want at your pick and then the backup. So that's what I heard. You know what I mean? I heard guys, really the first round was like everyone really got who they wanted in the first round, but just in case they had a backup.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a little bit harder in the Big 3 too because of the way they do the lottery, which we've talked about in this podcast. We're not huge fans of, but it did make it a little bit more interesting for a 2-round draft than, let's say, like a 3-round draft. Like a 3-round draft, I'm not crazy about it. 2-round draft it's a little, the stakes are raised a little bit depending on where you're drafting at in the first and second round. So
and I will say too, I feel like the results of the lottery were much less drastic than they were previously because Three-Headed Monsters got crazy picks after making the playoffs, and Enemies had a high pick, Power had a high pick, but they lost everybody. I feel like there was just such Ball Hogs had a pretty high pick, so you're like, all right, it worked out in a way where I'm really not going to complain about it. But I feel like also too in a way there was such like a reset. So many guys left. We hadn't played in so long. Fine,
Sure.
Like it is what it is.
Makes sense.
But you're right. I do agree with you. I'm still not in love with the idea.
Yeah. So we'll see how they move forward with it. All right. That being said, we talked about the draft a little bit. We'll talk about it a little bit more. Let's get into these power rankings. I'm pretty stoked about this. I told you before we hopped on here, I'm not crazy about mine. And I don't know if it's because of the balance of the league.
Okay.
Or because I know who has done so well in the league in years prior that I almost feel guilty for putting some people lower.
I feel that. I feel that. Hint. Yeah.
Let's just get into it. I guess the way we'll do it, we'll just go 1 and 1, 2 and 2, and just trade off. Or we'll go 1 and I'll read 1, you read 1, and then
we're going 12-1.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. Okay.
I'm saying 1 as in
we haven't done it. When was the last time we did one of these?
This probably This is episode 73, probably episode like 5.
The last time that we
That was in
did this,
2019.
last time that we did this, I had just completed my associate's degree.
Oh,
I'm now
wow.
looking at master's programs.
The last time wow. If that gives you any context, how long that was ago. I mean, that's literally over 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, that's nutty. Okay, well, hopefully we don't screw it up too much. Did we even okay, we did have 12 teams when we did this last time, so it's not too big of a change up here. I guess I'll start with my 12. Man, I really don't want to go bottom to top. I'm almost nervous to go bottom to top. But the way I pretty much looked at this was like, okay, which teams do I think are going to the Bahamas? And then try to stack everything else up. And I'll tell you what, the hardest part I had was after I picked my 4 teams to Bahamas. I was like, oh, these are, I feel pretty good about these. And then after that, I was like, what?
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to start here. I'm going to start at 12, and I'm going to go with Ball Hogs. And really, it's on the premise of a couple things. One, obviously, they haven't shown that they can get out from underneath that 12th spot, that 8th spot, whatever spot. It just always seems to be the last spot. I think the second aspect of it is, I think they did a decent job drafting. They got their guy Will McDonald back, and they got Jody Meeks, as I mentioned. But I think they're a little older than I wish they were. Like they're not super old, I would say, because Spitzer Halls is relatively young still too. Like he came into the NBA like super early. But I feel like Barbosa's almost 40, Scal's 40, Will McDonald's over 40. So I guess I just wanted them to add somebody a little bit younger, and I wasn't crazy about the direction necessarily, but
well, they also did get Jody Meeks.
Jody Meeks is 33, so he's still young. I know they're not completely old, but I think a lot more of it has to do with the standings in years past and kind of the reputation more than it does with the age and who they added. But 12, I got Ball Hogs still.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, for me, my number 12, I do not have Ball Hogs.
Oh,
this is the first time that Ball Hogs has not been number 12, probably in the seasons. Yeah. Because I'm sure I probably started them off at the worst team to start 2019 because they ended in 2018 the worst team. But for me, for number 12, I have Aliens.
Hey, I think that's fair.
I think there was a team that was close to making the playoffs last year, but you lose Andre Owens, and then you draft Andre Owens. I'm still not convinced Andre Owens is actually going to play this season.
Yeah.
And then you take Ronaldo Balkman, who, we'll probably have the opportunity to speak to very soon. So this is no disrespect to him, but I don't know. This is a team with a lot of question marks to me. Mm-hmm. This is a team that, in my opinion, I feel like is one of the few teams that like didn't necessarily get better from top to bottom. And especially if Andre Owens isn't playing. Mm-hmm. So that this to me is just a team that really is like, all right, like we're running it back with Ronaldo Balkman. And I feel like Aliens wasn't a Ronaldo Balkman away from the playoffs the first time.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
While I can say that I feel like every team got better, I don't know if Aliens did. And for that reason, they're number 12.
I think that's a fair point. And I'm just going to hop right into 11 and remind everybody who's listening, these are preseason power rankings. So
right. This is bullshit.
Yeah, we're basing this off bullshit. And
have you seen our mock draft?
Have you seen our speculation? They didn't go necessarily that great.
Wade.
Carmelo Anthony,
What happened to Michael Beasley? He must have just straight up said no.
He must have. He's been training and stuff. I thought he was coming back. Who also has been posting a lot? It's been Lance Stevenson. So I was a little disappointed that we didn't see Lance, but I think that might have had to do with the exit of Andre Owens. And then
I think that ship has sailed.
I think so too. So the reason I want to jump in right into 11 is because that's where I got Aliens.
Yeah.
And a lot of it does have to do with the uncertainty of Andre Owens. Again, speculation is the name of the game here a lot of times. And because the Big 3 probably doesn't have as many rumor mills going on. But I feel like there's some cryptic things going on when I look at Andre Owens' Instagram account. I don't know if they're necessarily talking to the Big 3. He's also got a lot of other priorities, so that could be the case. But I'm kind of like you in the sense of like, okay, They were pretty close last year, but I feel like they needed a little bit more. And I don't necessarily think that it was just Ronaldo Balkman. Like,
Yeah.
we could be completely wrong here, but I feel like the reason they went out and got Balkman is because Odin had a little bit of trouble of playing like the entirety of the game, whether it was foul trouble or just exhaustion movement. And I felt like Brandon Rush also had
Foul
that.
trouble or exhaustion. I don't know why that made me crack up.
I mean, am I wrong? I mean, if
No,
I'm
you're
wrong, go
right.
ahead and
Just
tell me. I mean, I just
Greg
felt like
Oden. Greg Oden in parentheses exhaustion out for the rest of the game. I don't know why.
don't get me
I
wrong.
find that so
Odin
funny.
was dominant when he played, and there's a reason he
Odin
went
was
high,
great.
and there's a reason he went captain. But I felt like he just had there was times where he had trouble staying on the court, and I felt like there were times where Rush was really carrying the load.
Yeah.
Shannon Brown had his games. He also had his games where he didn't look like he was necessarily the best number 2 option. And if you don't have Andre Owens playing, I mean, one of the best scorers, in Big Three history, I don't know. I that scares me a little bit. There's a lot of uncertainty with aliens, and new face involvement. You don't know necessarily what that brings to the table.
Well, this is
What
a
I
team
did,
to me. It's very similar to Killer Threes in a way, where they're almost like a worse version of Killer Threes, where it was Andre Owens was there, Steven Jackson, and it was just this like supporting cast.
mm-hmm.
But now, almost like these same questions that we're asking about Killer Threes, we're like, well, that was a championship supporting cast. So
Yeah,
odds are someone's going to step up. For Aliens, this was not a championship supporting cast. This wasn't a playoffs supporting cast around Andre Owens.
yeah.
So the idea that, Ronaldo Balkman could come in and win the MVP of the league. And, so then who
probably
knows?
will.
He probably will. With us, he probably will. But I don't know. I just have a hard time. I'm confused about this Alien vision. They've had like 4 coaches already. They've only played 2 seasons. They drop Andre Owens as captain, but then they draft him, but Andre Owens isn't playing. So I don't know. I'm very confused by the situation. And things that confuse me typically anger me. So
well, we thought Baldwin was going a couple other places, so Aliens was kind of a shock anyways on draft night.
Yeah.
But you're right, the vision's not clear. What I was going to say is that Andre Owens, if he doesn't play, I think David Hawkins could potentially slide in there in that spot.
Oh yeah, David
I think that would make them.
anywhere.
I think that would change my whole
Immediately
idea. Yeah, whole idea of what I think about these power rankings. But until then, I almost look at this team as like undermanned with 4 guys on their team because.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I don't think Andre Owens is going to play. It doesn't sound like he's too happy. I would not be happy if I lost my captain spot. And then to almost feel like
confusing.
Yeah, it almost feels like a pity. Like you've been in the league for 3 years, so we wanted to make sure you're at least on a team, and we didn't necessarily want you to leave as captain. But I don't know. While Aliens might be genuinely like feel like genuine about it.
I just have so many questions.
There's so many questions.
There's so
that's why
we could ask Balkman.
Yeah, well, we could ask Balkman.
We'll ask Balkman.
He might not know either. So that's why
I'm be like, I just got here. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah, I just got my shirt today, so I don't really know anything outside of that.
Just my 3rd day out here. I don't know. This is my 3rd day out here.
That's funny. So 12 for me, Ball Hogs, 11 Aliens. Who do you got?
Me, I basically just have it flipped. 11, I have Ball Hogs. Basically for the reason that you said. They've been the worst team in the league by far the last 3 seasons. But this is a different team. So I don't think I could have put them at number 12. Barbosa, I think, is going to be good. Haas is a great pickup. And I like their draft in Will McDonald and Jody Meeks. So it'll be interesting to see. I think if they can stay healthy, if they can sort of, play as a unit, it'll be interesting to see. I think a lot of it's going to fall on. I hope Rick Barry can, help them out and just sort of develop a system that complements everybody. Because I don't think Scal's going to get too many minutes. So they're really going to be running like a 5-man rotation.
A 4-man rotation. Because they only have 5 guys.
Shit. Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. That's a lot of the way I look at it.
4-man rotation. Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of minutes. So if guys can stay healthy, make shots, I think Ball Hogs have a chance, but a chance to be, I'm not really saying a chance for playoffs, it's a chance to be good.
I would say like a chance to be competitive, maybe win 3 games for the first time in their franchise history.
Wow. You only have them winning. Well, you had them last in the power ranking, so I get that.
Well, I think it's going to be competitive throughout last year, like every team in the league seemed to be 4-4 or better.
Who were they playing week 1? Three's Company?
Ghost Ballers?
No, Ball Hogs? They'll start out the season 1-0.
Wow, that's a bold prediction at a random time, but all
They'll
right.
start out the season 1-0.
Over Three's company? Okay.
They're for the first time in their franchise history, they will be over 500.
Okay. All right. Well, guess we'll find out. I don't think Slim would be too happy to hear that, but whatever.
That's my enemies of this power ranking.
Who? Ball Hogs?
Like I'm saying, like
Three's company.
I'm saying like this is my no. I actually really like Three's company, but this is my that's like my prediction. Like when everyone laughs at me about enemies, I think Ball Hogs are gonna be floating around 500.
I'm gonna have to ask you to retract that. I feel like the enemies one was a lot bolder.
I'm gonna have to ask you to retract
The enemies one was a lot bolder. I don't really love the Ball Hogs over 500 after 1 week. Like we'll just go throughout the power rankings. I want to see something bolder from you. I felt like the enemies one was bold. Anyways.
I just feel like
taking away your right to have an opinion right now.
I just feel like my bivouac take was pretty bold. I've just sat on it for so long, it's gone from hot to lukewarm.
Honestly,
you know what I mean?
Good point. Okay, fair enough. We'll move on. Number 10 for me. See, this is where it gets tough for me. So for me, I have three-headed monsters, and not only not making the playoffs, but sitting there at 10. Look, it's kind of the same reason we were talking about aliens. Did they get a lot better than their playoff team? And for me, like looking at three-headed monsters, I don't know if they even. I don't think they got better. And to be honest, I think they might have got a little worse. I have a lot of faith in Mahmoud. I never want to question the man, even if he's 52. Oh, and I should have started the show like that. I've been wrong about the fun fact I've had where Mahmoud's older than GP.
Oh my God.
So I feel like an idiot.
You've been telling everyone that.
I've been telling everybody, and I even said it on a post, and his nephew reached out to me and was like, "Hey, you're not right about that. Do your research." And I was like, "Oh."
He said that? He was like upset like that?
No, he wasn't upset. It just came across as maybe a little bit more strongly because it was over an Instagram comment. But he said, "Do your research." And I looked it up and I was like, "Oh, did I get the dates wrong? Like, really? Like, I got their birthdays mixed up." So
why was he coming at you all aggressive like that?
I don't know if it was aggressive.
You were like complimenting him, like in a way.
Yeah, I felt like maybe just because I had the facts wrong, that maybe Mahmoud takes it offensively. I don't know. But I've been wrong about that. So there goes my fun fact. Like that's super disappointing.
We'll have to get another fun fact.
I'll have to find another one. But so I just wanted to come out and make it clear I've been wrong about that. Don't be telling your friends and family or whoever else watches the Big Three. But back to three-headed monsters being at 10. Don't want to question Mahmoud. Richard was the league 1 MVP. Reggie Evans is the best big man in the league. And every big man who comes in seems to be a little bit concerned about getting their weight up because of Reggie Evans. That being said, and I posted today about Kevin Murphy, what Jeff had said about him being a great scorer. They lost Mario Chalmers. They lost Larry Sanders. I felt like they had some integral pieces last year that really made them good. Like really made them not good, but made them enough to get into the playoffs. And if I stack up their draft picks and stack up their team to what it was last year, I don't know if I love it. Kevin Murphy is a little bit of an unknown because we haven't seen him in the Big Three yet. I could be completely wrong about him, but do I think he's going to be better than Mario Chalmers right now? I don't think so. Mamadou, he's 7'6", 7'6". I saw him, posting some clips of him shooting the 3 ball, which, always excites you, but we also see Ben Simmons doing that every offseason and he never actually shoots it. And I have a little bit of concerns about what they're going to do to Mamadou in like a high pick and roll situation and try to get him one-on-one with anybody that plays anybody on any other team. So I have some concerns just as a defensive liability. While I think he'll alter a lot of shots, I also think he might get exposed a little bit just because of his lack of lateral quickness. I'm not saying he's not going to have an impact. I just think if you compare who's on their team now and who was on their team last year, I just don't think it looks as good. I got three-headed monsters not making the playoffs for the first time.
Okay. I have a couple of rebuttals to that, but I will give my rebuttals when I give you my three-headed monsters ranking.
Okay.
So hopefully I remember them.
I'll remind you.
10 for me is Tri-State.
Wow.
I think you and I had similar mentalities, to sort of why you put Three-Headed Monsters at number 10 and why I put Tri-State at number 10. I
Wow.
think they're a team that you go and you lose Amari Stoudemire, who was probably a top 3, top 5 player in the league last year. So you bring in Nate, you bring in Jason Richardson, and who was the other one? Larry Sanders, right? So you bring in Jason Richardson and Larry Sanders. Larry Sanders was good. Was he a co-captain quality? Well, we said he didn't really get a lot of minutes under Reggie. So it'll be very interesting to see. I know he had a phenomenal combine. And in the minutes that he did play for Reggie, although they were limited, he did look very solid. So I thought it was a good pickup for them, but I've just yet to see it work. We all love Tony Roten. I think Tony Roten is going to be explosive. But besides Tony Roten, I really just asked myself, where is the offense coming from on this team? Nate, who is their captain, won 4th Man of the Year Best Bench Player award. So in a 5-man rotation, I just don't know how much value that brings. And, but, on the thing, guys were high on Earl Clark. Like very high on Earl Clark. So Dante said, what? It was Earl Clark, right? Where Dante said he looks better than he did in the NBA.
Yeah.
So
that's what he's heard. So,
I'm very interested to see this team. I have a lot of question marks about this team. I need to see the fit. I need to see how it all works together. But yeah,
I got a couple rebuttals to that too, so it's interesting. And you'll see why it's interesting later on the road. But wow, Tri-State at 10. I'm a little shocked to hear you say that, but enough said. Okay, let's jump to 9 here, and another surprise for me, honestly. I got Three's Company here at number 9. This is probably where they fell in 2019. Like I said, everybody's at 4-4, so probably just mostly came down to point differential. But they bring everybody back, or they don't bring everybody back. They bring back Drew Gooden and DeMar Johnson. They add Mario Chalmers and they add Ryan Hollins in the draft, and they also add Jeremy Pargo. But at the end of the day, you lost Andre Emmett, and I always say this, rest in peace, because I feel like we need to show the man respect whenever his name is mentioned. And I feel like he really made that team go. They were really struggling before he got hot again when it came in 2019. They got off to a really slow start. Andre Emmett was really the one to even push for them to make that consolation game, where I think they still ended up losing, unfortunately, but even to make the consolation game, it was all on the back of Andre Emmett. Jeremy Pargo is a great pickup. I think he's going to bring a lot of offense, and I think he's going to make up at least some of the ground that Andre Emmett provided. Mario Chalmers, obviously, I think there's a lot of good things he has. DeMar Johnson, we're just going to have to see more from this year. We really are, and Drew has been off and on. Some days he's really shooting the ball well. Some days I feel like he's shooting too much. I don't know. This team, I just feel like a lot of my thought process is like, I could see them being 4-4 again, but at the 9 spot. And I think a lot of that just has to do with how are you going to make up for Andre Emmett? I really do think he might have been top 2, if not the best one-on-one player in this league. I felt like he could always get a shot. I felt like he was always dropping 20 points in a game that goes to 50. It was tough for me to put him here, and I think they did make some good additions. I just like some of the other additions better.
Yeah, I agree with you. And so I actually have Three's Company in the 9 spot as well.
Oh, okay.
And I would really
made that point, all those points, and you had the same.
I would echo all those sentiments, and I would say, you look around the league, you look at enemies, or even Three-Headed Monsters, who their big men are a 7'6" guy and Reggie Evans, who's the best rebounder this league I've ever seen. And Three's Company, really, your big men are DeMar, but DeMar doesn't really play like a big man, and Ryan Hollins. So, I don't know. I have a lot of question marks about that team. I trust DeMar's vision, but DeMar's a fantastic draft. We've seen that, and I think his streak of picking all-stars in the first round is going to continue with Jeremy Pargo. I think Pargo is going to fit in like a glove on that team. I'd be interested to see what happens, because Mario Chalmers had a great season with Three-Headed Monsters, but we sort of overlook the fact sometimes that it took him a little bit to get started. Those first two, there was a bit of a learning curve, for him to sort of figure out his role on that Three-Headed Monsters team. So will the same thing happen for Three's Company? I'm not too sure. But yeah, so, for those reasons, I have them at 9.
Fair point. I think part of it too, we still have a small sample size of what he provided. We really
Yeah.
lean a lot of times on those 2 games he played, but small sample size. I know there's not a lot of games, but that's still a fifth of the games that he played last year total. So moving on to 8. This is where I feel like it got really tough. And I don't know if it has to do because we're partial to some guys or if it's really just the league is balanced more than we think. But I had Ghost Ballers sitting at 8. And look, Chris Johnson has looked amazing. We know what Ricky Davis can do in this league, and we know what Mike Taylor provides. Chris Johnson, literally, he looks like he could. If there's an all first team Big 3 team this year, which I feel like the Big 3 should do at some point, all first team, all second team, all third team. But if there were those teams, I feel like he'd be an all Big 3 guy, Chris Johnson, because he looks that good overseas, and I think he's going to have a lot more opportunity this year. They obviously added the top 5 scorer in Craig Smith. I don't think this has anything to do with Ghost Baller's setup and who they have. I will say maybe the defense I'm a little concerned about because they do have a lot of guys who can score, but I don't know how it's going to translate necessarily from a defensive perspective, which is very vital in this league. But I think a lot of it just has to do with I think that they're a complete 5 guys or a complete team of 5 guys that just are going to be stacking up a little bit better than Ghost Ballers week in and week out. I still don't know a lot about Cheyenne Gadsden. I mentioned to you, he's a guy that I feel like you got to be a real hoop head to know who he is. That's no disrespect to him. I just feel like he just maybe hasn't had the platform to showcase himself. Because I looked at some of his highlights and it looked good. So that's why I got Ghost Ballers at 8.
Yeah. Anthony,
Are we rolling right now?
We're rolling right now. I got the same thing.
Okay. I like it.
I really don't want to repeat what you said, but really it's the same thing. I think this is a team, we talked about it, we hyped them up a lot, a team that I think could very easily go on a run, become like a little bit of a Cinderella story here. If you want to talk about a sleeper team, my new bivouac, it might be Ghost Ballers.
Ooh,
just
I like
because
that
of the
one.
amount of scoring, Ricky Davis and Craig Smith, that's going to be nasty. Mike Taylor, Chris Johnson. There's a lot of upside here, but we just haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I don't expect them to be the 8th best team in the league, but for right now, I believe that they are.
Okay. Yeah, I'd have to agree as well. So let's just move on to 7 where it just gets even tougher for me. And I got Power there.
Ooh.
And so I got Power and 3-Headed Monsters, the 2 teams that have never missed the playoffs, both missing the playoffs. And look, I think a lot of it comes down to uncertainty again. This is a team that couldn't stay healthy last year. Durability was an issue. Whether it was Katina, whether it was Big Baby, we don't know about, as many times or as good as it sounds on paper to have Deuce on Power, I'm not going to say that he is necessarily a lock to play until I see him week 1 playing. It's just hard for me to say that with the, especially if Serbia qualifies or, Olympic regulations, whatever. I've been watching a lot of Joe Alexander tape or highlights. He's nice. He's got a lot of bounce.
I'm muted. He's nice. He's looking nice.
He's got a lot of bounce. He's a lob threat for sure. Got a nice little jump shot. I think.
Okay.
But I think that durability concerns me. Katina shouldered a lot of the load early on for Katina or for Corey Maggette, and I think that's part of the reason he got hurt.
Yeah.
I really like the addition of Royce White. I think he's ultimately going to be the X factor and making this team go. But I'm just wondering, is Katina your guy, go-to guy when it comes to the scoring punch? I want to say yes, because obviously he's been doing it. But I don't know how he's going to come off the hamstring injury or how this team's necessarily going to operate work. What really kills me inside, why would I go against anything Nancy Lieberman's doing? I mean, why would I? But in my heart, it tells me no. In my mind, it's telling me that's just the way I look at it. Uncertainty, durability. I got him at 7.
For me, for number 7, I do not have Power. I have a team. So cool. I know. I have Enemies.
Oh, we're doing this again. Okay.
You put the drink down. You were like, you're about to take a drink. You're like, I'm putting this down.
I'm just tuned in. I'm focused. Okay, Enemies at 7.
Enemies, in my opinion, had probably the best draft or the second best draft. They took a guy that we projected at number 1 in the second round, and they took Isaiah Austin, who everybody is saying as Detroit wins the number 1 pick in the draft. But as everyone is saying that he had the
Everyone
best
takes
combine,
him.
he's looking the best, young kid, lot to prove. So I'm excited about this team. That being said, it's just another team we've yet to see it. They were bottom 2 teams, so I jumped them 4 spots from 11 to 7 just based off their draft. So that shows you how good I think their draft was.
Yeah. Okay.
But we've still have yet to see it. And Swaggy P, you talk to some guys and they say Swaggy P is going to be the MVP of the league. You talk to other guys and they're like, we'll have to see. It's a lot more physical game. Swaggy P really is a finesse player. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to be able to see it. But if I know one thing, I think they're going to be a very fun team to watch. But until then, I have them at 7.
Wow. That one's shocking to me. You really went with enemies as a bottom 6 team for 2 years in a row. You were right one time. Hey, you could be right a second time. I'll make sure I have my rebuttals ready for you when time comes. Okay. Moving to 6. And you said you had some rebuttals for me. So you still have 3-headed monsters and power up there. And I'm looking foolish. But the more we climb up. At 6, I got trilogy.
Okay.
That was a hard one for me too, because I really think if I'm going to think of any team with upside, it's trilogy. I like what they did in the draft a lot. They got Meta, which somehow I got right. Meta Sandiford Artest is now what he goes by apparently. And they got Isaiah Briscoe, who I really, really, really liked. 25 years old. I thought that he looked pretty good in the NBA. I think he's the youngest player in the Big 3 right now, Isaiah Briscoe. I think people are going to have a hard time staying in front of him, and I think he's going to create a lot of buckets for other people. I liked their versatility. I don't know. A lot of it has to do with more like continuity. I think we've talked about that a lot, the chemistry aspect of it. I'm not sure, I feel like a couple guys have it with each other, that like Jared Jack and Amir Johnson have it, and like James White and maybe Meta have it or something like that. But I'm not sure how it's going to work. It's another team that we just haven't seen together. We've seen parts of it together, but we haven't seen the complete package. And I think it's going to be one of those teams that like either starts off really well and dies off, or they're going to have a slow start and really run it. Not to mention you have a first-year coach and Stack, and as his post said, the basketball guys do know more than we do because they played in the league and whatnot. But we haven't really seen a lot of player coaches like translate well in this league yet. So, and obviously everyone's been a player before. So I'm talking about guys that have played in the Big 3 and then converted into a coach. We haven't seen a lot of success from that. So I got trilogy at 6.
Well, I tell you what, not to, bring in like the freezing envelope here, but maybe something to sort of calm your trilogy woes is Jarrett Jack and James White actually played on the same AAU team growing up.
That's a good footnote.
So
wish I would have known before. Okay.
Just letting you know.
You're doing your research a little bit, it seems like.
Keep some things in the pocket.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. For number 6, for me, I have 3-headed monsters.
So you do have them missing the playoffs.
I do have them missing the playoffs. I think this is a very top-heavy team. I think this is a team that is going to rely on their 3 captains, as they have had for the last few years and have been pretty successful doing it. Rashard Lewis, is an MVP caliber player. He's been very good. Reggie Evans is the best big man in this league, undisputed, until he's not. A ton of great big men enter the league, so I'm really excited to see if he retains that. But we've seen a lot of big men come and go, and Reggie Evans seems to be the one constant.
Yeah.
And Mahmoud, you can never count out Mahmoud. He's somebody who I think is going to be incredible. I mean, it's going to be really fun to watch. And then if you go and look at their draft, we talk about Kevin Murphy. Kevin Murphy, if he is who Jeff told us about and doing more research, I think he's going to be a good complementary piece to them. He'll almost be like what on offense, what Mario Chalmers was on defense on their bench.
Okay.
Someone to sort of stabilize it. Another option, if Mahmoud is, not feeling right or, hurt, injury, or anybody, I feel like Kevin Murphy is somebody who can just sort of slide in. And then Mamadou, I think Mamadou is somebody who, if Reggie Evans comes out, so the best rebounder in the league comes out, and then a 7'6" guy comes in to replace him. Nobody is getting a rebound over that team.
I don't think like that. You think that the tallest guy's always going to get the rebound, but if they can't move like you hope they do, and all these dudes have insane bounce. Like look at Boban. I watch Boban so much. Yeah, he gets a lot of rebounds, but he doesn't get as many rebounds as you'd hope for.
But that's 5v5. Mamadou doesn't have to move up and down the court. He's not late to the party. He's already there. He's DJing. Think of it like this, bro. Think if you had to fight Reggie Evans in the paint. Reggie Evans like, I need a break. And then a dude stands up who's 7'6". He's like, yeah, I got you. You'd be like,
here's
screw me then.
Here's something I'm keeping in the pocket. I have a guy
He's
I
not
work
7'6".
Not 7'6", but I have a guy that I work with who has, a friend of a friend, essentially.
Right. A friend of a friend of a friend.
He played at UC Santa Cruz and actually played against Mamadou and their other two guys in the 3-on-3 tournament that went on last weekend and beat them. So, hey, just because you're 7'6", and this guy's definitely not 7'6", let me tell you. He's taller, like maybe in the mid 6 foot. And I'm not saying he's the only guy who did it. He obviously had teammates and stuff, but.
What did he say? He said he's buns? Said he's a Burger Town?
I'm not saying he's a Burger Town. I'm not saying he's buns. I'm just saying that, hey, just because he's 7'6".
You're saying don't believe the hype. You're saying 21 Pilots, don't believe the hype.
I was saying it before the draft. I'm saying it after the draft. I'm going to say it throughout the year. Don't believe the hype.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm excited to see you crash and burn.
Okay. Okay. Well, that is thank you, partner. Okay, moving on to number 5. Okay, here's what I'm ready to see.
All tongues who rise against Mahmoud shall fall.
How about this? I have Mahmoud and Mamadou. So good luck getting.
Oh my God,
getting that off the tongue.
Mahmoud to Mamadou. God bless Brian Custer and Jim Jackson.
I know. Okay, so I'm ready for your mouth to drop after a couple of these. At 5, I got Tri-State, and
okay.
Here, that was it. Wow, that was not.
Why you gotta tell me first.
Okay. So you're right. They did lose Amari, and they've lost Jermaine O'Neal, and then David Hawkins. They've lost a lot of big name pieces within the last few years. However, I really like their draft, and after enemies, I think that Tri-State had the next best draft. And here's why. Earl Clark was very coveted from what we've been hearing. Okay, Dante had high praise for him. I think there's a lot that he can offer, at least from a scoring punch, and I think maybe defensively he's a little underrated. I was already wrong. We saw how immediately impactful Dante was. I mean, from an analyst standpoint, he comes in, he's like, I would pick Isaiah Austin. Immediately, he's right. Trust the players.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go wrong. And 2, maybe we're a little partial to Tony Roden, but I really do think he's going to provide a lot on both ends of the court. I think he's one of the quickest, fastest guys in this league. He's going to blow by a lot of people. And defensively, like I said, I was saying this on the live stream. He jumps in the passing lanes. He's great on the ball and he's great off the ball as a defender. I think that's going to be very impactful. When it comes to, you're talking about, who's going to be the scoring punch. I think they're going to do it, as a team, kind of like we saw with Ghost Ballers early on when they had Jamario Moon still, or, even a killer threes. But I think if you really needed to, I think you could go to either of those draft guys, Tony Roden or Earl Clark. I think there's a lot that they can provide. And my final tipping point on why I think they're at least outside of the Bahamas teams is that I think Larry Sanders, he was he didn't get to showcase everything that I believe that he's capable of. He looked good, like you said, when he had his quick runs, but let's be honest, Reggie Evans has been the best big man in the league. You're not going to take that guy out. He's proven it year in and year out in this Big 3 league. I think now that Larry Sanders has more of that opportunity to really handle the whole load, I guess, like as that traditional 5 in a 3-on-3 setting, I think he's going to have a big season, honestly, for Tri-State, and I think he's going to be an impactful part of why they're contending for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
That's my reasoning. That's it.
Okay, that's fine. You can have that reasoning.
You seem so disappointed in it.
For me at number 5, I had Trilogy.
Okay.
I had
we weren't too far off.
So I'm gonna hype up Trilogy, and by the end you're gonna think that I have them winning the championship, and then I'll tell you why I have them at 5.
Oh, ouch.
This is a team. Well, no, I'm just saying, like, I'm going to be very complimentary towards them. So then you're going to be like, well, you don't even have them making the playoffs. So how confident in them can you be?
Okay, fair.
But in my opinion, this is the most like NBA caliber team. You know, Jarrett Jack and Amir Johnson, in my opinion, were NBA players who took a very unique and interesting opportunity to mentor these kids on Ignite. You know, Jarrett Jack, in my opinion, is an NBA player. He was
I agree.
he was putting up dominant. No, I don't want to say dominant. I don't want to overuse that word, but he was putting up very good numbers in the G League bubble 5 months ago. And same thing with Amir Johnson. And so I think those were two guys who were presented with an opportunity and who said, well, I can either test NBA free agency and get a minimum or camp tryout or whatever, or I can go get guaranteed money, go in this bubble, be with these kids, do what I want to do, mentor, and then, you know, it's just another feather in my cap. So those are two guys who I think it's awesome to see that they came right from Ignite to the Big Three. I think that's awesome. Meta World Peace is a co-captain caliber player. So he was picked up in the draft. And then who was the next one? And then Isaiah Briscoe is a dog on defense. And same thing with James White.
Yeah.
So this to me is a team that is very heavy defense.
So why aren't they going to be chilling in the Bahamas?
Not going to be chilling in the Bahamas because
with a nice tropical drink and a little straw.
You know, same thing with
umbrella.
You know, same thing with some of these other teams. I just wonder where the consistency in scoring is going to come from. The best teams we see always have a guy who, on any given night, they need the bucket. We can give it to them. Triplets of ISO Joe, you know, three-headed monsters when they were one of the top teams in the league had Rashard Lewis. Power had Corey Maggette, a guy who, listen, we're going to do everything else. We're going to try and make the game easier for you, but you're our scorer. I don't know. It could be Jarrett Jack, could be Amir Johnson. I don't know who Trilogy's scorer is going to be on this team.
Yeah.
And until I see that, and until I see, listen, this is a team who, you know, Meta World Peace took a year off, or 2 years off from the Big Three. I'm trying to think. James White, we know what James White is capable of, but Jarrett Jackson new, Amir Johnson's new. These are all guys who have never played in the Big Three before, and a first-year coach in Steven Jackson. So it's going to be I think there's going to be a bit of a learning curve for them. I like the foundation.
Yeah.
I love these three captains. I really do. But I don't have them making it just yet.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I had them kind of like on the outside. I think it's going to really come down to that last week for a couple of these teams, like probably like 1 through 7, maybe even 1 through 8. It'll kind of be similar last year if they do like a Big Three ball out where, you know, who's going to be able to show up on that last day. Okay, so we've been.
Now these are our playoff teams.
Yeah, we got our playoff team. So it's pretty interesting because 3 of the 4 we have the same.
Yes. Which I think
it's not
is to be expected.
Yeah, because this is something that we're consistently watching, we're ingrained with, you know, we understand the league. 4 teams now that are going to the Bahamas that we believe are going to the Bahamas. 3 of them are the same. Start at 4 here, and hey, no disrespect to a team that made it all the way.
Well, hang on a second. Since that we know, do we want to go 1 to 4?
Sure, we can do it that way.
Let's do it that way, because I think you know what I mean.
I think they're going to be pretty similar.
It's going to be 1 through 3. I think it's going to be very similar.
Okay.
Well, I'm saying 1 through 2 at least. Like, let's just get that out of the way.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Those are the teams we have the least to say about.
Okay, fair enough. I got triplets at 1.
I also have triplets at 1.
You know, there's like you said, not much to say about them. They won the league last year. Their MVP's coming back. As the same we did for Power in 2019, putting them at the top, we're doing the same for triplets. Not to mention they have guaranteed reserve, or I don't even know how to spotlight that. Or they have an extra player, essentially.
I don't know how that's going to work.
You know, they didn't get the draft. They essentially almost, you know, it's almost like they drafted last year when they made the trade for Jamario Moon and then added him and won the championship. I don't really know how to phrase it. Despite all that, triplets at 1. They won it all last year. ISO Joe couldn't be stopped. And until someone proves it, it's going to be hard to say no to that. At 2, I'm assuming it's the same 2. I got Bivouac at 2.
I also have Bivouac at 2.
Another team that had a great draft. I think Reggie Diaz really emphasized this when I went back and watched the draft, the actual Big 3 draft and on our live stream. Versatility is the name of the game. And I think they went out and, first off, Mo Spates, that's someone we've been waiting on to be their third or I guess actually see as that next co-captain when they added him back after the 2019 season. It's really cool to see that he stuck it all the way through and decided to play.
Well, I'll tell you, I've had conversations with Mo Spates. He is so excited to start playing. Like, he is so excited. And he was so pumped that his game was going to be on CBS.
He brings such great energy just to the game.
He is I'm so ready. Like, I'm hyped. Let's go. Like, I'm going to have a great time. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
So such positive vibes coming from him, and you can't help but be a fan.
Yeah. And we know what Josh Smith and Will Bynum can do. And really, Mo Spates, Mo Buckets for a reason. I think that's a great trio of captains. And then, we touched on the draft earlier about Bivouac. They added two versatile guys that I think are going to be able to assist in a lot of ways, whether it comes from scoring, rebounding, passing, defensively. I think there's a lot to offer. I think they have the best versatility. I think they're going to be able to do the most switching, which is pretty vital in a 3-on-3 setting. And triplets and Bivouac is going to be the first game of the season, which
that's crazy because our power rankings that automatically puts us in a tough spot because of how we have these power rankings.
Exactly. I mean, we already know one's going to be at the top and one's going to be toward the bottom just because of records. But it's interesting. At 3, this is where it gets interesting. I'm not even going to assume who you have because it's not right to assume. I have enemies here at 3.
I'm going. They never learn.
So just like you had enemies low last year, I have enemies high again. I don't have them this high, but we talked about Swaggy P a lot. I think there's a few things you're missing there. Okay. First off,
3 things that you aren't hitting the mark on.
Well, and I don't mean that disrespectfully in any means. I just think we talked more about Swaggy P, but we didn't talk about the other guys around him. I mean, first off, height is very coveted in this league, as we've seen in the past, where they've had the 2 big man lineups that's been very successful, and they almost have 3 of them. Essentially, Perry Jones is going to be playing like the wing spot when, if he were playing in a modern 5-on-5 setting, he'd probably play the 4 or 5. And so they have 3 of those guys. I think we're not talking about Isaiah Austin, what he's going to bring to the league. I know he's new, but I think he's got a lot to prove. You talked about being one of the greater comeback stories and a guy who's medically banned from the NBA. I think there's a lot to offer. People talk about him almost as he's got like Kevin Durant like abilities almost, with the way he can score the bag, how deep his bag is, the way he can move. I think Nick Young's going to be great, but I think Jordan Hill is going to provide something, that chemistry factor. What I really think I like about it is the youth movement. I
do like that.
3 guys under 30, which I think is the only team in there. The 2 youngest co-captains. I don't know a lot about Elijah Stewart, to be honest.
I don't know.
I've heard good things, and
Nitty told us he's good.
Nitty told us he's good. So again, trusting the players there, but I'm infatuated by this team, and
infatuated
because I'm really excited.
My God,
I'm really excited to see them play. Like I'm usually like a big 3-headed Monsters fan because I really want them to see them get over the hump.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I might be leaning towards enemies this year, strongly. And not to mention, Gil is their first-year coach, and I know that kind of contradicts what
Gil
I said earlier.
Gil ain't coaching shit on that team.
Well, here's the thing. All I've heard, especially since Gil has become the coach of this team, and I've heard it in years past, but I've heard it more recently, how brilliant of a basketball mind.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Gilbert Arenas is going to sit there and do nothing.
Oh, no,
but
I know what you're saying.
Gilbert Arenas is not going to be,
he's not going to tell Swaggy P to stop shooting.
That's what I mean. I don't know, he's going to be very much just sort of an incubator for ideas.
Exactly.
Which, I don't know, who knows? That might be successful. We haven't really seen that be too successful yet in the Big 3. We've really seen old school coaching really be successful, but I don't know. It could really change a lot if that type of thing works out.
Last thing I want to say, I think a lot of people talk about you were saying a lot of people were talking about the impact Nick Young's going to have, but I think if you're going to pick out an MVP candidate, if you had to pick out an MVP candidate from this team, I would go with Isaiah Austin, the number one pick. I think he's going to be. I think he's really going to be good. I think he's going to come on strong. Now we could be sitting here in 2 months and I'm going to look like a complete jackass, which 9 times out of 10 usually happens. But I'm feeling good about that 10th one this time around, so I'm gonna stick with it. I'm going with enemies at 3. Going with enemies at 3.
That's the biggest discrepancy that we have. At 3, I have killer 3s.
Okay. I thought you were gonna. I was pretty wrong about the assumption then.
So I was really I don't want to say low on them. I was just really worried when they lost Steven Jackson because I knew how important he was to that team. And I really wish that, or not wish, but I was really like, okay, like let's do like sort of like an Indiana Jones type swap thing here, right? Where we take out Steven Jackson, but then we bring in like, you know, a Jarrett Jack or a, you know, I'm trying to think of names of guys, but like a Michael Beasley. You know, someone who can replace that scoring and that impact. And they opted to go with Frank Nitti. So they basically were saying like, all right, listen, we're going to take out, you know, we're going to hope that the sum of the parts is greater than the whole, you know, and I would be less confident in that if it wasn't for the fact that I'm extremely confident in Frank Nitti, the way that he played in the TBT, as well as Dante Green for the TBT and the 5 tournament. You know, I think those are 2 guys who were in their rookie years when they made it to the championship. So I'm super excited. I really think that they're going to be a good team. I hope that they are, because I think they're a very likable team. I mean, they're the team that we've probably, at this point in time, we've probably had the most guys on this podcast.
Yeah. CJ,
Frank. Dante, Frank.
Yeah.
That's 3/5 of the team.
Yeah, probably the most. You're right. They are a likable team. And I think one thing I want to add to that is Dante on our live stream talked about how, you know, he had wrist surgery and came in not necessarily, I guess, ready for action. He kind of just came in blindfolded almost, or I guess without any training, or he didn't really get a chance to rehab himself and get himself ready for the season. It was kind of just like, my wrist is better. I've taken a couple shots. Let's go. Well, it's pretty good to be able to do that. And, you know, I do have them at 4. I do have them making the playoffs. I wasn't going to go in these power rankings or even with my Bahamas teams and think triplets and killer 3s aren't like one of those teams aren't going to make the playoffs. Because I do think they're both, one, have the best continuity probably throughout the league. They're the 2 teams that didn't change up. But 2, I think echoing a lot of the same things you just said about killer 3s. They've looked really good in what they've been doing since the end of the 2019 season. They have a little bit more experience in this league. The continuity is there. I mean, I think they're going to look a lot better this year. My one question, which is something that you were a little concerned about with other teams, is like, who is going to be their go-to scorer? And that's been something I've been trying to figure out. But I think for some reason, I kind of think killer 3s is the exception to that rule. And I think we saw a lot of that last year, because while every other team was searching for offense, maybe late in games through one guy, that team seemed to have a different guy who is the leading scorer week in and week out. Yeah. And I think we'll see a lot of the same things this year. So, and not to mention, I just feel like in my gut, it's telling me like killer 3s and triplets are going to see each other again in a big primetime game.
I agree. I think I've asked myself the same question about killer 3s, but my answer has always been it's going to be Dante.
Fair enough. I think he could carry that load.
I think Dante's going to step up on the offensive load, and Frank Nitti's going to step up on like the grinded out, facilitating defensive load. And I think, you know, everyone else is going to come down to the Josh Powell, CJ Watsons of the world. Yeah. Are they all going to rise to the occasion? Yeah. And I think, and they did it last year. So no reason to think that they aren't capable of it.
The last thing we haven't talked about for you is your 4 team, which, you know, is power, obviously, because
power, right?
You have it named. I'm a little shocked that you have power at 4. You had some concerns on draft night about Joe Alexander because you didn't know who he was. What's your reasoning?
This is really just reasoning of how high I am on Dusan Balut. I think that Dusan Balut, we've been saying he's the number 1 3v3 player in the world, the number one FIBA 3v3 player in the world. And I'm assuming that, like for Aliens, I'm assuming that Andre Owens isn't playing. I'm assuming that Dusan is playing. I think the only thing that he really said would get in the way of this was the Olympics. And it doesn't look like Serbia is qualifying for the Olympics for 3v3 basketball. So, unless FIBA just comes out of nowhere again, I would just have to imagine that Nancy Lieberman did her research. And I'm sure talked to him and he was like, I'm in. So she took him at 3. That's a question to ask. That would be something I'm really interested to know about, the process behind choosing him so high, because you're right. We had him both in the second round because of the uncertainties and because of, as we heard in the combine that he did attend, the defensive issues and the sizing issues. But if there's any team where they can make that work, it's Power. And I'm, very high on Nancy Lieberman as a coach and as a strategizer. And I think, you lose Corey Maggette, you lose Quentin Richardson, and you lose Chris Anderson. So, all right, so you replace Chris Anderson with, I don't know. I guess Glenn Davis is going to have to step in more of that traditional 5 role. And then you replace Corey Maggette with Dusan Balut, and you replace Quentin Richardson with Joe Alexander. So I'm just so interested in this team. I'm so excited to see what this team looks like. And I think I have to give Power the benefit of the doubt. They've earned that. I think they're going to make it work.
Fair enough. I'm super excited to see Dusan in the Power jersey. Like, might have to cop.
From our perspective, right? Like, from us as a brand, this couldn't have worked out any better.
Oh my gosh. I don't want to say I was worried that he wouldn't be drafted, but man, I have been waiting for this since 2019 when he got drafted.
Like, he went to the perfect situation.
Perfect situation. And I will say, going back and watching that draft, if you haven't had the chance to do that yet, one thing Coutinho said that was pretty intriguing and why I went and watched Joe Alexander highlights, he looks at Joe kind of to be that lob threat that Birdman was. So if that tells you anything about the kind of balance and athleticism that he has, he's going to be more impactful than I think we even know. It's just more of that, like, we just don't know a lot about him right now, but I think we're going to know a lot about him after the first week.
Yeah,
is basically what I'm saying.
Very might.
That is our conclusion of our power rankings. Some agreed upon, some drastically different. I mean, I pretty much know the team I'm going to keep an eye on. I'm very intrigued for you, Will. Like, which team are you going to be keeping an eye on the most? Because, you've been talking about Bivouac since 2019 and probably when they got most Bates. You love Power. You hate enemies, so we know it's not them.
I don't hate anybody.
You hate enemies.
I don't hate enemies.
Who are you going to be keeping an eye on throughout the year?
God, I mean, I think for me, honestly, the cheap answer is Power. Just because, in my opinion, they're the team that can fluctuate the most. Like, I'm very high on them right now because I think everything's going to go right. But things could also go very wrong. Like, Dusan Balut, I'm very high in. But I'm just high in that just because I want him to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm banking on the fact that this whole FIBA to Fireball 3, transition isn't as apparent as everyone's making it out to be.
Yeah, I hope not.
But all I know is that the guy does play 3v3 basketball for a living, which is what this is, and he is dominant in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, absolutely dominant. So I think Nancy Lieberman is going to unlock that in him, and I'm just so excited because I think if that does happen, that's going to open up the floodgates. Because everyone is going to be, because listen, I don't know a thing about FIBA 3v3 basketball, but I have to imagine that if Dusan is LeBron, let's say, there's a KD, there's a Curry, there's an AD. So so I'm imagining if LeBron was like, I'm going to go play in Italy, I'm assuming that people are going to, well, if LeBron's going to go play in Italy, I got to go beat LeBron. I think I'm better than Dusan Balut. So I got to go play in the Big 3 to beat him.
Wow, that's an interesting point. Okay.
Or, Dusan plays for Serbia. I play for Yugoslavia. I've always wanted to play with Dusan Balut. I'm going to go to the Big 3 and, maybe Dusan is a captain of a team.
Ooh.
I want to go play for him.
Interesting.
You know,
thoughts.
I don't know.
I like it.
I'm very interested. That's the team that I'm most interested in, and for all the reasons, because they're so different from what we've seen.
Yeah, I really like the makeup of their team. I really like their draft. I'm very intrigued by a lot of these teams. I am going to go with enemies still, but one thing I wanted to note here, another 3-on-3 guy that's going to be playing in a different summer basketball league is Robbie Hummel for the USA team. So I think it's kind of funny that there's like two different 3-on-3 guys like joining two different summer basketball leagues. But anyways, That's just kind of a sidebar thing, and one of those things that I was just thinking about. But that's going to wrap up our power rankings. We really hope you guys enjoy it. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below, or if you're watching this on YouTube, I guess it's still comments. I'm thinking it's description for some reason. Let us know in the comments below on whatever platform you were viewing this on or listening on. We appreciate everyone who's tuned in. Going to have a lot coming to you guys. Might even be posting twice a week.
2
episodes.
weeks. Yeah.
2 a week, 2 a days.
2 days.
Not 2 days,
no,
but
no, 2 weeks.
Twice a week.
We're not Oprah Sod in 2014.
But just want to get you guys prepared for the season. Let us know what your power rankings are. I know the Big 3 was asking about that just a minute ago about your top 4 Bahamas teams. Let us know what you guys think. We appreciate everyone who tuned in, and we will see you guys next time.